Hello dear students, we are going to learn about the semiconductor. Semiconductor is a topic for class 11th paper 2. First topic is semiconductor. First of all, let us see what is meant by conductor, the semiconductor. Semiconductor are those materials whose property lies between conductor and insulator. At room temperature, this semiconductor will behave like an insulator, and if temperature or some heat is provided to that material, it will convert it into the conductor. So semiconductor behave like a insulator at room temperature, and it will behave like a conductor at the if energy is given to it. Now, the conductivity of a semiconductor can be increased if some energy in the form of heat is given to it. So it will convert itself into conductor. Now, what about the atomic structure? Let us see. All the materials whose valence is 4 are considered as semiconductor. But if you consider the electrical parameters of materials, only silicon and germanium are most probably used as semiconductor. Now in this diagram you can see the atomic structure of silicon atom. Silicon has atomic number of 14 as well as germanium has atomic number of 32. In the diagram here you can see there is a nucleus, and the electronic configuration of any atom is given by 2 raised to power n square. So where n is the number of orbit. So for silicon atom there are 2 electrons in the first orbit, 8 electrons in the second orbit, and 4 electrons in the last orbit. Now the last orbit is called as the valence orbit. You can see in the diagram I have also shown a last orbit. That orbit is called as conduction orbit. We will see what is meant by conduction orbit in later. Now here every electrons in the orbit possess a force of attraction by the nucleus, and they will remain in that orbit because of the force of attraction of nucleus. So if you want to move electron from smaller orbit to larger orbit, some energy has to be given. So every orbit electrons possess some energy. If you consider energy diagram, suppose this is the energy possessed by the electrons in the first orbit. Let the first orbit is n equal to 1. So this energy has to be given to move the first orbit electron to larger orbit. In the similar way, second orbit electrons, they will possess some energy. In the same way, the last orbit, that is the third orbit, it will possess some energy. This energy is nothing but this much energy has to be given to that orbital electrons to move them to the higher orbit. So this is the energy level diagram. Of any atom. Now as you know that in silicon there are 14 protons and 14 neutrons in the nucleus, and this is the atomic structure of silicon. And the energy level, you can see that this is the energy diagram. Now what is meant by energy band? Let us see. As you know that this is one atom in a material, but material consists of many atoms inside it, and every atom has orbits like this. If you combinedly consider all the first orbital electrons, they will possess a range of energies. That means suppose this is one of the atom, and suppose a neighboring atom is there. If you consider the first orbital electrons of first atom, if you consider the first orbit of second atom, then and so on. So if you combinedly consider all the first orbital electrons of all atom, they will possess a different energy, and they will possess the energy in some range, and that range of energies is considered as energy band. So here suppose this is the energy level diagram. So first orbital electron suppose has a lesser energy like this, and last electron which has higher energy in any atom, so this will form a energy range like this, and this energy range of all first orbital electrons is called as energy band. So this energy band is for the first orbital electron. In the similar way, second orbital electrons of all the atoms, if you can combinedly consider the range, they will possess a range, and this range is the energy band for second orbital electrons. In the similar way, third orbital, that is the valence orbital, they will possess the energy band like this. So this will form the energy band diagram of any atom. So this is the range of electrons in the first orbital electron, this is the range for second orbital electrons, and this is the range for third orbital electrons. So this is nothing but the energy level band diagram. So this will form the bands, so that is why this diagram is called an energy band diagram. Now if you consider the third orbit for silicon, this third orbit is the valence orbit for silicon. Now if energy is given to the last orbital electron, this last orbital electron will move to the higher orbit, but here no orbit is present. So this electron, valence electron, if energy is given, it will escape from the atom, and this electron will be free and for conduction. So that electron is free and that can move anywhere in the neighboring atom or in the previous atom. So in this way, if energy is given to the last orbital electron, that is the valence orbit electron, and this valence orbit electron will leave the atom and it is now free. So no force of attraction from the nucleus is possessing on the left electrons. So this electron will move outer side of the atom, and that outer side, wherever it moves, that space is called as conduction orbit. So this last orbit is the conduction orbit. And if this conduction orbit, if all the atoms, if combinedly considered, if energy is given, some atoms may leave the electrons, and these electrons will wherever it goes, that space is called as conduction band. So last, after the valence orbit, so this is the valence band. So whenever the electron is given to energy, this electron will move in the outermost space and that electron becomes free, and whenever those electrons goes, that band also has the energy level, because all the electrons of valence orbit of all atoms possess different energy, so they will possess some range of energies. So if you combinedly consider the all range, this will form a band, and now after the valence band there is a band, and that band is now called as conduction band. So this is the diagram for energy band of silicon. Now on the basis of this energy band diagram, we can classify the semiconductor, insulator and the conductors. Now the energy which is to be given to leave the valence electron to conduction band is called as energy gap, and on the basis of this energy gap we can define conductor, semiconductor and insulator. Hello students, now in today's lecture we will discuss about the types of semiconductors. Now here you can see there is a silicon atom. One silicon atom, it is covalent bond with the neighboring 4 silicon atom. So this is the crystalline structure of silicon. If a silicon in such type of crystalline structure is taken, this pure form of crystalline structure of silicon is called as the semiconductor. Now if it is a pure semiconductor means no impurity is added still now. So this is the pure form of silicon. So in pure case, this silicon is called as intrinsic semiconductor. So first of all, semiconductor is classified into first type, that is called as intrinsic semiconductor. The second type of semiconductor is called as extrinsic semiconductor. Now what is meant by extrinsic semiconductor? If a pure form of silicon is taken and if we add or dope some impurity atoms in this pure semiconductor, then there is a formation of extrinsic semiconductor. These extrinsic semiconductor are of two types. Let us see the first one. Suppose we have taken a trivalent impurity like boron, aluminium, indium or gallium. These are the trivalent impurity. What is meant by trivalent impurity? Trivalent impurity are those materials in whose atoms has a valency of 3. So all the trivalent impurities, if they are added into a pure semiconductor in such a way, suppose we have taken an aluminum atom which has the valency of 3. So if we have added such that one aluminum atom with 4 silicon atom, what will happen here? Here is a silicon atom, here is also a silicon atom, here is also silicon, and so on. So there will be a formation of covalent bond with the 3 neighboring atom only, and one covalent bond will be remain left. So here there is a vacant space, and this vacant space it will not bonded with the 4 silicon atom. So in this way, if aluminum is a trivalent impurity, if it is doped with the pure silicon crystalline material, such type of bonding will be formed. So this is a covalent bond, this is also another, this is third one, and one bond is not completed here. So one electron is absent here, and the absence of electron, it is called as hole. So in this way, if in a material, if number of these impurity atoms are increased, then there will be a formation of one hole after each impurity atom. So in this way, one hole is left behind. Now this one hole here, for the conduction, one electron can be accumulated here. So this impurity atom can accept one electron to form a covalent bond. So these impurity atoms like trivalent impurity, this trivalent impurity now is called as acceptor. So they can accept one electron. So trivalent impurity is acceptor, and when trivalent impurity is added here, there is a formation of hole. And if number of impurity atoms are added, if you increase the number of quantity of impurity atom, there is a formation of holes inside the material. So overall, the holes will be generated there, and these holes are now free because any electron can accommodate that vacant space, and in this way the material will have number of holes formed inside it. So overall, we can consider the hole as positive charge. So that is why the whole material so formed is called as p-type material. So in this way, semiconductors are classified into two types: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic semiconductors are the pure semiconductors, and extrinsic semiconductors are formed by adding impurity. Now in this case, we have added impurity which is trivalent. Trivalent means there is a 3 valence orbit electrons inside the last orbit of this impurity atom, and one is vacant. So if this impurity atom is added to a pure semiconductor, there is a formation of covalent bond with the neighboring 3 silicon atoms only, and one remain vacant. So that vacant space is called as hole, and hole is considered as positive charge. So that is why this type of material, it is called as p-type semiconductor. Now let us see how another type is formed. Suppose we have taken now another case, if we have added pentavalent impurity like arsenic, antimony or phosphorus, what is happening? Now phosphorus is a pentavalent material. Pentavalent, it means that the valency of this atom is 5. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the 5, this is the extra electron. So if phosphorus is added or doped with the pure silicon atom, what is happening here? The ratio is 1:4. So 1 impurity atom with 4 silicon atom. So in this way doping quantity is decided. Here you can see the 4 electrons of phosphorus, they are forming covalent bond with the neighboring silicon atoms, and 1 electron here it is free. So this free electron has negative charge. So in this way, if you increase the number of phosphorus atoms in the pure silicon atom or doping, in this case the overall charge of this material will be negative. So this is why this type of semiconductor is called as negative type or N type. So in this way, negative type or N type extrinsic semiconductor is formed. So semiconductors are further classified into intrinsic, extrinsic. Extrinsic semiconductors are formed into 2 types. One is called as P type, we have just listened to it, and another form is called as N type. That is, they are formed when the pentavalent impurity is doped with the pure semiconductor material. So in pure semiconductor material, if pentavalent impurity is added, 4 electrons of valence orbit of pentavalent impurity, they will form the covalent bond with the neighboring silicon atom, and 1 electron will be left behind, and this electron is now free. So all the conduction will be due to this free electrons in this material. So overall polarity of this is called as the negative polarity. So that is why it is called as N type. So pentavalent impurity gives 1 electron after doping. So this pentavalent impurity is called as donor impurity. Right? So for formation of extrinsic semiconductor, what we have to do? We have to add trivalent impurity, and trivalent impurity left a vacant space which is called as hole, and hole is considered as positive charge. So that is why trivalent impurity added, they will create the p-type semiconductor, and if pentavalent impurity is added here, they will have extra electron, and that 1 extra electrons have negative polarity. So pentavalent impurity is considered as donor impurity, and trivalent impurity creates the hole and it can accept or accommodate the electrons. So that is why it is called as the acceptor impurity. So in this way, by doping acceptor impurity, it will form p-type material, and doping with the pentavalent impurity, that is donor impurity, it forms a N-type semiconductor. So in this way, semiconductors are classified first as pure semiconductor, and they are called as intrinsic semiconductor, and impure semiconductor, that is extrinsic semiconductor. Extrinsic semiconductor are further classified into 2 types. One is called as p-type and another is called as N-type. Now let us see how the electron current will flow inside the material if it is a semiconductor. Let us see. As we have already discussed about the band diagram of any silicon atom, it has the band. Band means nothing but it is the energy range of all the orbital electrons of all the atoms inside a material. So there is the first band, second band, and third band is called as valence band in case of silicon, because the electronic configuration of an silicon atom is 2, 8 and 4. So last atom, last orbit, it is called as valence orbit, and if all the electrons of all the atoms of last orbit, they possess the energy range, and that energy range, it is called as the band. So last band for that material is called as the valence band. So whenever some energy is given to this atom, the valence band electrons will leave the atom and they will have accommodate a free space there, and that free space wherever it moves, that will consider as the conduction band. So whenever energy is supplied to any atom, that will leave the valence band and it will enter to conduction band. Now suppose we have given a energy level in semiconductor. You can see valence band and conduction band, there is the energy gap of 1 electron volt. So 1 electron volt of energy is supplied to this atom. The valence orbit electron will move to conduction band. Suppose this energy is given, and suppose at the right corner this electron leave the valence band and suppose it is entering to conduction band. What is happening here? If one electron is moved to conduction band, this space will be remain vacant here. So there is the formation of hole here. So here vacant space is considered as hole. So one electron moved to conduction band, there is creation of hole. Now what will happen to this hole? The neighboring electron of the valence band, it will move to the vacant space. So this electron will move here now. Okay. Now the vacant space, before this it was created here, now it is created here. Now after this creation of vacant space or creation of hole, the neighboring electron, it will accommodate this space. Again neighboring electron, it will accommodate the vacant space. So in this way, up to this edge, all the electrons will move like this and they will accommodate the hole or the vacant space. So in this way you can see, if one electron is moved, another electron is taking its place, another electron taking its place, and so on. So electrons in this case, they are moving in this direction. And what is happening to the hole? First, when first electron was moved to conduction band, hole was created here. Then after that, hole was created here. Then after that, hole was created, and so on. So you can see the holes are moving from right to left, and while electrons are moving to left to right. So here the electron current is from left to right. At the same time, hole current is flowing like this in this way. So you can see, if electrons are moving in this direction and holes are moving in this direction, so their current directions are opposite. So as we consider electrons as a negative current, and they are moving to left to right, and what about the holes? Holes are moving from right to left, and if electron current is considered called as negative current, what we call it is this hole current, it will be the positive current. Okay, so holes are actually the vacant space, but due to this theory, electrons are moving in opposite direction to that of the holes. So if electrons is considered as negative current, holes are considered as positive current. Ideally, holes are not the free charges; they are nothing but the vacant spaces. But due to this theory, holes are considered as positive charge carriers because it is moving in the opposite direction to the electron current. So that is why hole current is called as positive current. So this is the concept of holes inside the material. So if electron conduction is there, at the same time there will be the hole current, and this is considered as positive current. In normal circuit diagram, you can see we consider a conventional current, and conventional current goes from positive to negative. So that is why holes are moving in this direction. So that is why hole current is considered as positive current. While the electron current, it is shown like this, and the connecting wires we show it by arrow, and that current is called as the conventional current, and it is the current which flows from positive to negative. But inside the actual circuit, the current is due to the electrons, and electron current flows from negative to positive. But for the conventional current, for the calculation purposes, we only use the conventional current, and this conventional current, it is due to the holes. So this is the concept of hole current inside the material.